Alright, today we're going to be discussing the Computer Lab plugin. This is an add-on to AccuTrack. So any of you that have a computer lab, something like what's up on the screen here, you can track this Computer Lab attendance by either using AccuTrack or using the Computer Lab plugin. The big difference is this. If I have AccuTrack, I can actually have the student sign in and out at the front of the center. So just like the normal AccuTrack sign-in with the station, something like this, the student will come in, they will wave their ID in front of this barcode reader, it will fill in on the screen and proceed to sign them in. That would be a normal AccuTrack sign-in station. I could have several at the front of the lab. But let's say I don't really want to do that. Let's say that I want to have the students come into the lab and just sit down at any of these computers and sign in there. That's what the Computer Lab plugin does. It basically babysits the lab and it prevents students from walking around the sign-in station to sign in. So even if they do, when they get to one of these computers here, obviously they would have to sign in. You don't really need both though. If you have the Computer Lab plugin, they're just going to walk in the lab, sit down at any computer. It's going to force them to sign in on that computer before they can do anything. So in this lab here, this guy sits down, he signs in, he can use the computer just like he always could, do anything you normally allow on that computer. And then when he gets up and walks away, if he can either sign himself out or if he forgets, it will sign him out after X amount of minutes of keyboard inactivity. And it's going to be up to you what X is, however long, they don't touch the keyboard. But basically, in a nutshell, that's what the Computer Lab plugin does. Now, there's a lot of features that are in the Computer Lab plugin. First of all, they don't have to worry about the sign-in station because, of course, you're just going to be able to go in and sit down. You can restrict computer usage to only authorized students. So that's a setting that you can turn on or off. If you have an open lab where anybody can come in off the street, you can allow that. Or if you have a lab that's closed only for registered students, you can make it so that only a registered student can sign in. You can also look at reports after the fact and know who was on a specific computer during a certain time period. Okay, you can also see what applications the student was using. You can turn that feature on or off. Most of these features can be turned on or off. So basically I can go in and say, oh look, Johnny was on the computer for 3 hours, he was on eBay for 2 hours, and in the algebra program for an hour. Okay, you also have the ability to check the status of your computer lab. This is a really neat feature. You can actually go online and see how busy the lab is, because AccuTrack Computer Lab plugin will actually publish lab availability to the internet, to your website. So a student could be at home, they could go on to your college website and they can say, oh look, the lab's not that busy, it's worth driving in today just to go ahead and get my stuff done. Now, you can turn that feature on or off, but it's a nice thing, and you can see how busy or how slow the lab is. There's a new feature for students to be able to page a lab assistant. So basically I can be at my computer and I can page the lab assistant, and the lab assistant will know I need help and can come over and help me. You can also set it up many different ways, but one of them is you can make it automatically return to the main sign-in screen. Or you can make it restart the computer when the student gets up. Okay, so there's different settings that you can put in there. You have the ability to shut the lab down at a specified time every night. So you can tell the Computer Lab plugin the lab's open till 9. So at 5 till 9, give everybody a warning. Lab's shutting down in 5 minutes, and then in 5 minutes the lab will shut down and turn every computer off. You can also prevent students from signing in on more than one computer at a time. So basically they can, sign in on the one, but they can't hold 3 more computers for their friends. You can block their access to the Windows task list so they can't do Control-Alt-Delete and get behind it. Okay, and you can prevent students from shutting down the sign-in software. So there's a lot of extra features that you can do in the Computer Lab plugin. You can turn the offline mode on, which means basically if your network goes down, they can still use the lab, and when the network comes back up, AccuTrack Computer Lab plugin will then dump all that data back into the AccuTrack database so it will be updated. So the Computer Lab plugin is basically a module that sits on top of AccuTrack. So you need AccuTrack for it to work, and it uses the AccuTrack database. Okay, so it's it's a nice feature that will speed up your sign-ins to the lab. Now also in the Computer Lab plugin inside my AccuTracks, they have different settings I can set. And these are some of them we were just talking about. Like if the screensaver's off and nobody touches the keyboard for 15 minutes, it's going to shut or sign that student out. Now you can change this to any number of minutes you want. I have mine set at 15 minutes. Okay, so it's nothing more than going into your AccuTrack, setting these features on or off, and then your Computer Lab plugin will act accordingly. So let's take a look at how it actually works. I'm going to go ahead and put my Computer Lab plugin up. And what it's going to do is when the student comes into the Computer Lab, they're going to see a screen something like this, except it's going to have your college logo here, and it's going to say whatever you want up here. So it's basically pulling this from your AccuTrack database. Whatever you have in your sign-in box up here, that's what it's going to say on your Computer Lab plugin. And the student's going to just walk up, they're going to sit down at the lab computer, and they're going to sign in. For those of you that don't have AccuTrack yet, you can make this letters or numbers 4 to 20 characters, so the ID does not have to be 9 digits. But the student comes up, they swipe their ID, hit enter. Now this student happens to have late library media, so now you can turn that on in the Computer Lab plugin. So it's alerting them, hey, you need to return this stuff to the library. I say okay, and then it wants to know why I'm here. So I'm going to say I'm going in the Computer Lab, let's say. Open Lab, and my instructor's Tiny Tim. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit continue. And then notice all of a sudden it just disappears. Okay, that's because the Computer Lab plugin is now timing me. It knows why I'm there and what I'm doing on the computer, and I can start using this computer. Now I told it I was there for Computer Lab use. I could have told it I was there for algebra, testing or whatever I wanted to do, but in the background, it's actually tracking what I'm doing. So I can go here and I can do, anything I normally would want to do. So I want to open up Microsoft Excel and work in it for a little while, and then maybe I want to go to my database and do a little bit of work there. And as I'm doing these things, the Computer Lab plugin is tracking that I'm doing it, and you will be able to get a report that, hey, Mary had these programs open during this time. So when I get all done, before I get done, let's say I want to page the lab assistant, all I have to do is hit this button. It's going to pop up on the lab assistant screen that I need help. Okay, but let's say I get done, I can hit sign out, and once I do, it's going to go back to the sign in screen. So it'll say Mary signed out, this little box will disappear in a minute, and another student could actually start signing in right now if they want to. And it's up to you how long this little yellow box stays up there. But the big thing is that now another student, to use this computer, they will have to sign in. Now let's say I get up and I walk away and I don't hit the sign out button. If I don't touch the keyboard for a little while, whatever setting I had put in AccuTrack, it's just going to go back to the screen anyway by default, and it's going to force the next student to sign in. So in effect, it's going to force all your students to sign in and out of the Computer Lab, and basically babysit the lab for you, if you will. Now I'm going to go behind the screen for a minute as an administrator. And as you can see, I have a couple things I can do. Most of the things I can do with the Computer Lab plugin are actually going to be in my AccuTrack database. But right now I'm in the Computer Lab plugin, which is pointed at my AccuTrack database. And I can go here and I can change my lab ID because I might have several different computer labs running this. And I can, change where my database location and that kind of thing is. But there's not a lot I do there. Most of my settings are going to be here in my AccuTrack. And if I go to Setup Options, it'll bring me into the screen, and then you just click on Plugin over here, and you can set your options. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. The Computer Lab plugin is something that just basically will babysit the Computer Lab for you, and then you can go get reports in your AccuTrack. So I can go in here, and I can pull reports and see, what they've been doing on the computer. So I have plug-in and plug-in sessions with applications, and I can run and see, what my students have been doing. So we'll pull a report real quick. And as you can see, I can see what's been going on. Like right here, what days that Fred here signed in, signed out, what lab he was in, what computer he was on, etc. So you're going to get all that detail, and you can also get detailed list of what applications he used. But in a nutshell, that's it. Thank you so much for your time.